Welcome back, y'all. Moondog Investigations. We're back and better than ever. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.
Everyone is talking about tactical nuclear weapons. What are they, and could Russia actually use them on Ukraine? Tactical nukes are small nuclear weapons that can be used over relatively short distances, which differentiates them from strategic nuclear weapons. Strategic nuclear weapons, or the so-called city busters, are launched from long distances and are highly destructive. During the Cold War, the US and Soviet Union possessed them and could launch them from long distances into enemy territory. Estimates suggest that Russia has about 2,000 tactical nukes that are being kept in facilities across the country. They're deployed on different types of missiles which are otherwise used to launch conventional bombs. Russia has two missiles which can be used to fire these short-range nukes: the Iskander-M ballistic missile, which has a range of 400 to 500 kilometers, and the Kalibr missile, which has a range of 1,500 kilometers. Tactical nukes vary in size and power. The smallest can be just 1 kiloton or less, while the larger ones can be as big as 100 kilotons. They are versatile and can be launched from air, sea, and ground. In 1945, the strategic nuclear bomb dropped in Hiroshima was 15 kilotons and killed almost 146,000 people. Experts say that Moscow is likely using nuclear escalation messages to instill fear and to deter the West and NATO from intervening in Ukraine. It is employing the so-called theory, escalate to de-escalate, to force its enemies to back down in battles. But some are worried that in certain conditions, Russia might be tempted to use smaller tactical weapons at sea or in a remote uninhabited region of Ukraine to force President Volodymyr Zelensky into surrender.
The Russians continue to threaten Ukraine and the world with nuclear strikes.
Для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства.
Let's analyze what weapons Russia uses to do this. Look, this is a strategic nuclear missile R-36M. According to NATO classification, it's called SS-18 Satan. This missile is almost 35 meters long, 3 meters in diameter, and its mass is unthinkable. It's 211 tons. Now imagine that this huge missile is able to fly 16,000 kilometers. By the way, its mass is comparable to 91 Ford 150 or 2 Boeing 767 planes. I would say it's impressive and frightening at the same time. Its operational time is just 1 minute. 1 minute and a missile capable of destroying a city of millions of people is already in the sky. If this missile is launched from the territory of the Moscow region, it will easily reach any city in the USA. Should we discuss the ability of this missile to hit Europe? I don't think so. I have not found a single continent on Earth where this missile would not reach from the territory of Russia. Guaranteed destruction of all life, the destruction of all structures and buildings within a radius of 500 square kilometers in a matter of minutes. Do you want to understand how much is a lot? Examples in cities. That's like 3 Washington DCs, 2 Philadelphias, 3 Miamis, 2 Bostons. It's like 4/5 of Chicago and San Francisco. It's a third of Houston, half Dallas or New York. Impressive? And Russia has a lot of similar missiles with a range of 10,000 to 16,000 kilometers. (1,181) according to official figures. Just to make it clear, there are only 348 cities in the world where the population exceeds 100,000 people. And this is the KH-555 tactical nuclear missile. It is 6 times smaller than the previous missile. It's 6 meters long and has a range of 2,000 kilometers. I could not find information on the area of impact. The warhead mass of this missile is 410 kilograms against 8,800 kilograms of R-36M. And this means that it's at least 20 times less destructive. Usually such weapons are used for specific tasks such as clearing the territory, striking large logistical hubs, etc. By the way, the city of Mariupol, after the Russian army came to liberate it, now looks like a city where a dozen tactical nuclear missiles were fired. It is very difficult to look at what Russia has turned this city into. Here are some examples of what the city would potentially look like after tactical nuclear weapons were used. How are tactical nuclear weapons used? First, there is a strike with a specific purpose. For example, to clear the territory from the enemy, with subsequent passage through the affected territory and occupation of some logistic node or strategic object. After such a blow, using special modifications of armored vehicles, the military side that caused the strike will be able to cross the terrain. But true, it's hard to envy them. Hardly any of them can survive until old age after the radiation exposure. Russian armored vehicles are not prepared for such tasks, and everyone who dares to cross the affected territories will die of radiation sickness within 2 to 3 weeks. Strategic nuclear weapons, on the other hand, have only one purpose: to inflict the greatest possible damage on the enemy. It is a weapon for indiscriminate strikes. As I said earlier, one missile is capable of destroying an entire city and making it uninhabitable for hundreds of years to come. Now let's imagine two scenarios. One in which Russia uses tactical nuclear weapons against Ukraine, the other in which it uses strategical nuclear weapons against Ukraine, European countries, and directly against America. First scenario. Putin gives the order to prepare nuclear weapons for further use. At this point, no matter how secret it is, the US and allies will already know about it. Western intelligence is watching Russia relentlessly. Let's imagine that Russia has prepared nuclear weapons after all. Arguments from the US, NATO, and China did not help. Russia loads air bombs on bombers and installs tactical nuclear missiles on Iskander-M type complexes. And everything is ready now. We can begin. But Ukraine already knows about this. It has been informed by the allies. The infrastructure is prepared, the key officials of the state are ready to be evacuated to bunkers at the slightest threat. Military equipment is constantly changing locations to avoid being hit. Aircraft are sent to underground shelters. Then Russia launches an attack, missiles hit strategic targets, military infrastructure. Russia naturally strikes cities as well. This has some effect militarily, rather small, and huge in civilian. Large civilian casualties, people panic, terror against civilians has worked, but not against the military. Those are angry and ready to tear the Russian soldiers apart. Will Ukraine stop? The answer is absolutely no. Ukrainians are now as angry as possible and want to destroy Putin and all his henchmen. In this scenario, I think it will be almost impossible to stop Ukraine. It will go to mop up Russia all the way to the borders in the Far East. All of Putin's accomplices who have not managed to escape will be found and punished. But will the United States intervene? Or maybe NATO? Will there be retaliatory nuclear strikes against Russia? The US and NATO are intervening unequivocally. Military contingents are being introduced into Ukraine. Equipment is being redeployed, and no-fly zone is being established. The Black Sea Fleet, as the former commander of US forces in Europe Ben Hodges said, is destroyed in an instant. But not only that, the entire military infrastructure supporting the Russian Black Sea Fleet is destroyed. As for retaliatory nuclear strikes on the territory of Russia, there are doubts. Let me explain why. This is a step towards a global nuclear war that will probably have no winners. Will Russia stop? Unlikely. A demented old man will go all the way. Not only that, as long as Putin is alive, the probability of the nuclear conflict in Ukraine escalating into a global war between Russia and the collective West will constantly increase. And there will be an attempt to eliminate Putin and Russia's top leadership. If successful, that should be the end of it. But if this fails, it will turn into a global conflict. And this is the segue to the second scenario. The chain is the same as in the first option, only the missiles are more serious. Putin gives the order and the preparation of nuclear weapons begins. The missiles are loaded on Tu-95 and Tu-160 bombers, the Bore and Shark submarines are loaded, missile silos and mobile launchers of the RS-24 Yars type are put on alert. The US and its partners know about it instantly. The US and NATO countermeasures begin. China also guesses something. It certainly doesn't need a global war and disaster. The conflict in Ukraine escalates into the use of nuclear weapons against NATO and the United States. Putin launches the first missiles while he's already sitting in a bunker waiting for retaliatory strikes. Except that at the moment of launch, I think 10 times as many missiles are fired at Russia. Everyone who has nuclear weapons and everyone who understands that Putin must be stopped begins to hit Russia. China is also joining in. It will last a few hours, at most days. Russia will be instantly destroyed. Many countries which Russia has time to reach will suffer. An inconceivable number of people would die. At least hundreds of millions, most likely billions will die. Extremely sad consequences. But this scenario is likely, and all because of the demented Kremlin dwarf who thinks he's the master of destiny. By the way, Putin will die in the first hours after the first launch if he's not killed when the order is given. Another unpleasant thing is that Russia does have a large number of lethal weapons as well as nuclear weapons. And this country is quite capable of destroying most of humanity. And most Russians quite agree with this. This is the kind of nation, the kind of people who brought Putin in and approve of his policies. If we imagine that Russia would be able to release 10% of its nuclear strategic and tactical arsenal, it would lead to the destruction of key cities in Europe and make the territory completely uninhabitable. The damage to the United States would also be enormous. There would be no territory left that would not suffer from nuclear strikes directly or indirectly. All this makes one think that this is unacceptable and Putin must be ended as soon as possible. Do you agree? Reply in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.
Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Moon Dog out.